Hey, welcome, welcome. Uh, Great to see you today. Uh, don't worry about this. It's just a little sprain in my wrist, and I don't have a brace, so I wrapped it up. And it's just for a brace. That's all. Okay, so we are going to talk about the Karen Reed trial. Um, Wanted to do it yesterday, but Delphi took the whole show. So here we are today um, to talk about Karen Reed. A lot has been going on. Let me get my notes. It's my water bill. I want to put it right here so I pay it later today. Okay, so much has happened. And I've got a few clips and photos and things to show you as well, but I'll start by going over my notes. Let me get back to where where the day started. Okay, we started off with Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, and he is a Massachusetts state police officer. And so he's in charge or part of the CERT team, which is the search and rescue team. And so they went over a lot of the time of like when they got called and when they went out. And so John O'Keefe, in case you don't know, Karen Reed is John O'Keefe's boyfriend, and she's charged with murder. That's what the trial is all about. Did she kill him by backing her SUV into him? Okay. He was found, that was January 28th of this year. No, I'm sorry, of 2022. And then on the next morning, January 29th, his body was found around 6:30. So they say this happened at 12:30 a.m. after they'd been drinking. And he was found on the lawn. So he's a police officer, a Boston police officer, and he was found on the lawn of another law enforcement family called the Alberts. Okay. And so the defense is saying that the Alberts, somebody within the Alberts family or friends circle, killed him and then put him on the lawn to be found. Right. And then they proceeded to frame Karen Reed for the murder. That's what the defense is saying. So what does the evidence show us? We're fine. We've gone, this is day 19 of the trial, day 19 in the courtroom. It's been going on 5 or 6 weeks because there's a lot of days that they're not in the courtroom. Hey, Andy in the house, and Robert. I don't know if you're still here. Robert checked in earlier, the True Crime Cult. So maybe in the house. I'm not sure. Say hi if you're still in the house. All right. It's 9 o'clock in the morning for me, so that's why I probably look a little bit sleepier than normal when I do a show, because normally I'm doing them at 9 o'clock at night, my time. So I hope you all had a great day if you're in the U.S. Watching this live. So I hope this is a better time for you, Andy. Pacific Coast time. All right. So the search and rescue team arrived around 5 p.m. on the 29th. Okay, he was found in the morning. They arrived around 5 p.m. There was a lot of talk about that. The defense had asked him, "Is it pertinent to maintain the integrity of a scene?" And he answered, "You can leave it unattended if you believe it won't be disturbed." And the defense, "Is it preferable to maintain the integrity of the scene?" "Yes, I prefer that it would be secure." It was a little bit about like pulling teeth to get that out of him, but he finally did, because that they had been discussing that after Canton Police Department had left that scene, and like when they arrived, no one was there, no crime scene tape, nothing. I mean, no one was there. In fact, the defense mentioned that it had been 6 or 7 hours. Oh yes, Andy is here. Yeah, I mean, Robert's here. Welcome, and Robert in the house, Andy in the house. 7 p.m. here, sun for an hour from going down, almost due east of Shasta. I always imagine you being on the west side of Shasta. Okay. All right. Oh, so the defense asked him, were you aware that no one had been controlling it for 6 to 7 hours? And he said, no, I was not aware of that. All right. So apparently at 7:50 a.m., the crime scene had been abandoned. All right. So he described that when him and his team of total of 7 people had arrived to do their search, that then the Canton police, like about 4 or 5 people that were Canton police officers, showed up to direct them, like where the body had been and what to search for and where to search. What to search for, they told this officer, Kevin O'Hara, you need to look for a sneaker and taillight pieces. Okay. And then showed them like about where the body was and about where they expected that the car would have hit him. We went through a lot of details. Yes, was the body marked with GPS coordinates? And he said those officers were no longer on the scene. So he didn't know if the body had been marked with, like, this is where the body was by GPS coordinates. He didn't know because the officers that would have done that were no longer on the scene. So he couldn't answer it, but he certainly was not given any GPS coordinates as to where the body had been, just those other officers that arrived. Oh, and so then he had asked, were you aware that the Canton Police Department had conflicted out? And he said no. So at that point, it was like, why was the Canton Police Department even involved? Because they had been taken off the case as having a conflict of interest, because they were all, the person's house, who this, where the body was found, they were Canton Police Department, they were Boston Police Department, they were different law enforcement, and their close friend, Brian Higgins, was ATF. Andy says, wanted the coast, but it was way too wet, like Shelter Cove. Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived about an hour and a half away from the coast when I was growing up. Okay. So they were asked to look for the sneaker and the taillight. They asked, did you know it was an SUV? So like what type of taillight they were looking for or whatever. And he said, no, didn't know. And I have a little star here, quote, we never discussed searching inside the house. So defense was asking about that. Did you search inside the house? No, we never discussed searching inside the house. They went over best practices, taking photos and diagrams and things like that. And so he was asking, were there pictures taken of everything and stuff? He goes, well, that would be up to, documenting the progress, not just documenting when they found something, but documenting the progress and the process of layer, because he said they would be removing the snow layer by layer, and then as they removed each layer, they would be sifting through it. And so yes, were there photographs? Was it documented, this process? That would be up to the detective of the crime scene, like those Canton police officers that had been taken off the case that had shown up. And he was like, well, wouldn't that be your responsibility as the leader of the CERT team? He's like, quote, not for documentation purposes. That is not our responsibility. And then the defense asked, would that be advisable? And he answered, that would be at the discretion of the detective. Right? So I got the impression at this point that he was, whoever the detective was, he was throwing them under the bus. And they talked a lot about the position of where was the sneaker found, where was the glass found, because at one point he said things were like in previous testimony, things were inches away from each other. Then now he was saying about a foot away, and in like someplace else in a report or something, there was something about 3 feet away. And that's like a big difference. I mean, okay, yeah, your memory, a few inches to a foot maybe, but 3 feet, seems like you would remember the difference between inches and 3 feet. But they did go over like where everything was found. And when the defense would bring up these discrepancies, then he would say, that's my recollection. And he did not measure. And so I thought this was actually a good save on his part, because they had marked the GPS coordinates of where they found things. And he said, I did not measure between the GPS markings. So it's my recollection that this is how far the distance was. It was marked by GPS. I have not measured what is the distance between the GPS, but that would be accurate. Whatever that is, that would be accurate. So it's only my recollection and everything. I thought that was actually a pretty good save on his part. He asked if Trooper Proctor had ever called him to come back out. He said no. Because by this point, Trooper Proctor is the one that was in charge of the investigation. And I'm not sure that if he mentioned that Trooper Proctor was one of the people that had showed up. Now, he kept saying the undisturbed snow. So there was like snow that the snowplow had like pushed up into like a, pushed onto the side of the road. So there was a little mound of snow where the snowplow had pushed it. And also that, from when John was found and they were trying to rescue him and they removed him to the ambulance, the snow had been disturbed, right? And I'm going to guess that the whole the leaf blower stuff would have happened early. And if they hadn't been there since 750, then did the leaf blower happen before 750? Because it was kind of sunny and there was no snow falling. So were they in the middle of a blizzard? Or did the leaf blower thing happen after this search and rescue had already done their thing? I don't know, because I was just thinking that if the leaf blower was before and they're blowing the snow away, then that snow that's going in the air from the leaf blower and then settling would then look like undisturbed snow. Just a thought about that. So then they get onto Maureen Hartnett, and she's from the state crime lab. And she's the one who took the blood samples. And we'll get into some pictures with this. She went into the whole process of what is the standard protocol for collecting blood and everything. The Lally, the prosecutor, says, so, everything happened on February 2nd. You went to the Sally Port, the garage at the police department, at the Canton Police Department, to collect this evidence on February 2nd. But then when we got to the defense cross-examination, the defense corrected this to February 1st. And then she like checked her notes and, oh yes, it was February 1st. Right. Now, when she examined the black SUV, she kept saying black SUV, repeating that over and over again. She found a dent in the trunk door, scratches on the rear bumper, the broken taillight, and damage on the rear door, apparent glass on the rear bumper, and a hair on the rear quarter panel. Basically, the hair was kind of under the taillight. And then they look at these photographs. And she describes that like her job is to look for biological trace evidence. Okay. Of course, glass isn't biological, but whatever. She checked the undercarriage. It was completely negative for blood and any other tissue. She collected 4 things: paint samples, the hair, a hair with a root, the tail light housing, and the glass that was on the bumper. Okay. So here's where I ended up having a couple of questions. Is there blood on the hair? Because how is it going to stick? I mean, right there during direct examination, I'm already asking the same questions that then the defense is bringing out, and everybody starts talking about when the defense brings it up. I was already thinking about it. How is that hair? And I actually wrote my words. So the hair survived multiple drives in a blizzard, and the glass, the hair and the glass, was it embedded? How did it stick to the car through all the driving? Which turns out later, we find out 30 miles, she had driven the car 30 miles away. Well, she dropped off John, and this is when 12:30 a.m. is she supposedly hit him, and drove back to John's house. Then from John's house, she went to Jen McCabe's house, and then they drove back to John's house. Then they got into Carrie Roberts' car, right? Then from there, she ends up being taken in an ambulance to the hospital. At some point, she gets her car and drives to another town that's about 20 minutes away or something normally. Well, it's 30 miles. It's 30 miles away, because then it's 30 miles back. And then her car is towed back and taken to the police department. So that's where we get the 60 miles from, that 30 miles away and 30 miles. But it was also being driven definitely in a blizzard before that, because we see all the security cameras and the police cameras and all of this that show the snow falling at the time that they found John. Right. So how did this hair, and you'll see pictures of it, I will show them to you, how did it stick? If the reason the hair is on the car is because here's the car and you got hit, and then that hair stuck to the car, wouldn't there be blood with it? And that blood then is dried but no. The other thing I noticed when they're first showing these pictures, when on the direct examination with the prosecution, is that the bumper has ridges. And it's very clear if you look at like the tape, because she put tape markers or like stickers on the bumper, and you can see of the ridges, which is going under and which is like above. And it's on the top of a ridge. It's not in like the gutter. It's not in the low part. It's on the high part. And you're telling me again, through all this driving, that piece of glass stayed there. I don't know. I mean, I guess it had gotten covered with snow. 'Cause there was snow on the bump. I mean, and it's on the top of a ridge that doesn't sit straight with me. Then I also mentioned that the snow is on top of this. I mean, sorry, the hair is on top of the snow, what I called snow stains, but really it'd probably be like this, the road having salt. And it made like water droplets, like you get in your shower. If you have a glass in your shower and the water dries on there because you don't use a squeegee to get the water off, and you get that hard water stain. Looks like that. And it's on top of that, which to me is like the salt from all the driving and everything had already dried before this hair ended up on the car, where it should be the other way around. Like maybe the salt stain would be what was holding it, the hairs under it. But no, it was on top of the salt stain. And also, if the reason that hair is there, because that's where the impact was, number one, was he bending over to tie his shoe? He wouldn't have been standing. And there's no dent. And why isn't there hair like in the tail light? If the impact, it's just not making sense, because this is below the tail light. So there had to have been some kind of, according to the prosecutions, there would be some kind of impact on his body, right? On John's body had to impact the car in order to crack the taillight. So what part of his body hit that taillight? He's 6'2". Now, I was talking to Nurse Tony last night about all of this. I said, well, you're around the same height. So like if you're looking at an SUV, like where's your eye level? And he said his eye level is right about the roof. Okay. So, where is that on the body if someone's standing? If he was bent over and that's how the hair got there, which it's not, you'll see the hair, that's not what happened. Then what, if the impact with him was where the hair is, then that's under, like if he's bending over, then that's under the taillight. So then how did the taillight get cracked? I mean, it just, none of it makes sense. That's the whole point. I also noted that I think this lady did her job. Well, at this point, there's something else that would make me question this. But at this point, I thought, this lady did her job well, and she was probably set up. Somebody else put that hair there for her to find, etc. Right? So then they talk about like the red Solo cups. Now, on direct with the prosecution, she just says she was presented with the red Solo cups with red-brown stains. Because until you test it, you can't testify that it was blood. You have to just describe what it looks like, right? Same thing with like gold or silver. You have to say gold colored or something. You can't say it's gold because you don't know that it's gold. She took swabs and then returned the Solo bags to the Canton Police Department to store as they saw fit. Now, we know there is no sign-in of those cups either before or after she took the swabs. And I was under the impression, based on earlier testimony, that she took the Solo cups, that she took the paper bag with the Solo cups with her and then maybe did the testing at the lab. But she said no, she took swabs there, 2 swabs, and then passed the bag back to the Canton Police Department, where there is, again, no chain of custody. There's no record of it being entered into the evidence locker. Okay. she goes through the process of how she sterilizes her workspace and lays out butcher paper and all of that. And then she does a digital microscopic examination. She said that after she examined like the ridges on the hairs and everything, that she then sent it to, she cut the hair in half and sent the side with the root on it to the DNA lab so that they could run their tests on the root end of the hair. So she kept in her evidence the other half of the hair, and but she examined the hair, the complete hair first. When she was finished with her examination, then she cut it in half and sent the half with the root onto DNA, to the DNA lab. Then we get to the clothing. Oh my goodness. So there was a gray sweatshirt. They talk a lot about the gray sweatshirt. And then I wrote, who collected the clothing? Question mark, right? Later, when the defense looks at the evidence bag, it says that Proctor is the one, at least Proctor's name is the one on the bag that contained this. So according to what is written on the bag, Proctor is the one that collected it. She looked for blood and damage. There were red-brown stains, assuming skin cells as well. Damage from the top to the bottom on both sleeves. And I had to replay that several times. Did she say both sleeves? And her quote was, across each sleeve, with additional damage on the right sleeve. Now, if this damage was caused by getting hit by a car, why is there damage on both sleeves? Because apparently they're saying that like the damage on the right sleeve, which people think is from him blocking the dog, right? The prosecution is saying that damage on his arm, and hence the sleeve, is because of like when the taillight got broken. So now we've got the arm level at the taillight. You see how this like getting hit by a car thing isn't so far. I mean, we don't have the autopsy report or anything. It's not making sense with getting hit by a car. And then before the emergency room guy said there was no damage to his body from the neck down, basically. How do you get hit by a car and only have a head wound, an eye wound, and your abrasions on your arm? Okay. Now, here in direct, I actually wrote this down. Quote, I collected 2 swabs from the damaged areas around the right sleeve. I wasn't necessarily taking up any stains. I did use the ALS to determine if there were any stains that I could not visualize. So I had to do that for potential saliva collection from that area. And she put all these different evidence markers on the sleeve. And at this point, I'm asking myself, which numbers or letters, which evidence markers are the ones that she used for her collection? Well, that gets answered when the defense does its cross-examination, and you are going to be horrified by the answer. She also did scraping. All right. Now there's pictures of this gray sweatshirt, as well as the jeans and an orange t-shirt. And I'm guessing they're laid out. They've got the evidence marker. She hasn't done her collection yet, right? And one, so she does swabs, and then she also does scraping, because her specialty is trace evidence, things you don't really see very well with the naked eye because they're so small. It's the nature of trace evidence. You can see a hair, but you got to like really be looking for it, right? It's not obvious to the eyes. I don't see any plastic, red plastic, clear plastic. I don't see a straw, a full length straw. Now, when I say full length, it's probably, when you've got the short glasses for whiskey, and then you kind of get a shorter straw. So maybe like 5 or 6 inches. It might be like that. When we look at the pictures, we can see if it has the ruler is either 5 or 6 inches. A straw. There are, I mean, I had to pause the video and look at these pieces of red plastic that come later that she ended up collecting by scraping. They were 2 to 3 inches long, 2 to 3 inches. How would that be part of scraping? You would see that and you would pick it up with tweezers or with gloved hands, pick it up. You would mark it. How do you get a 3-inch piece of plastic by scraping the clothes? I mean, I thought we were talking microscopic. This is 3 inches is not microscopic. Is oh my God. I wrote, he can only have one impact from the car, but blood is everywhere on the clothes. And then I asked myself, where was his lividity? When the blood settles, where was that? Was it on his, because he was found on his back. So does the lividity match the position of where he was found? If they did kill him in the basement, it would make sense to like lay him flat out on his back, so that, because they have to know about lividity as being seasoned, law enforcement officers. And that way that when they moved him, the lividity would match, She said that so when her cross-examination started, of course, they established that it was February 1st. And she was told on scene that Proctor was in charge of the investigation. Okay. She said that she could not draw conclusions as to whether or not the dents and the scratches, etc., that she observed were from a vehicle accident. That's not her specialty. She doesn't make any conclusions. She's just there to collect. Okay. I thought, all right, give her that. She said that there were no visible stains or tissues on the vehicle, and that she was never shown photos of John at the time of collection. And then he shows the photo of the arm. And she says that she did not examine the roof. She did the undercarriage. And then he asked, did you see any inconsistencies to the injuries? And she said, I am not qualified. Just a second. Hello? Yes? Oh, wonderful. Yes, thank you. Miriam Arthur. Yay. I have some business until maybe 2:30. So maybe or like 3:30, 4 o'clock, I come. Before 4:30. I will make sure I am there before 4:30. C467. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Ah, okay. Okay, I see you today. Thank you. Bye-bye. So that was the post office. I have a package. They don't deliver mail here because after the Khmer Rouge, the um, people just squatted in houses, and then they like built houses in like on lawns or whatever. So you've got like original houses with original real house numbers, and then you've got all these like they would just pick a lucky number and make that their house number. So all the numbers are out of order on the street. So therefore, like mail delivery is impossible unless you're a big institution, um, and then they will collect the mail and deliver it to you just based on an arrangement. Um, but they need my passport, so I'm just gonna grab my passport and put it in my bag so I don't forget. Hmm. Oh, wait, I know. I'm getting my visa renewed. That's why I don't have it because the government has it renewed. It takes about a week. I'll have to check if it's back. I don't know. Maybe I can't get my box if I don't have my passport back. But I do have a picture of my passport, so maybe they'll take. They know me for so long. So back to Karen Reed. Solo cups. Oh, okay. So the blood collection of the solo cups. The defense did an amazing job asking her for more specifics because the prosecution, I don't, maybe the prosecution never even thought about it. Maybe they didn't realize this. I don't know. I don't think the defense knew what this answer was going to be. They always say don't ask something unless you know what the answer is going to be, right? Um, I don't think they knew. I think they were as stunned as everyone else. So basically, there you've I hope you've seen the pictures of the six. There were six red solo cups in a grocery bag, not even an evidence bag. It had Stop and Shop or whatever on the side of it. Okay, it was somebody's grocery bag, and they're just open. There's no covering on. They didn't put like cellophane or aluminum foil or something to cut. There's no cover. Um, you've got these six solo cups. So when we saw that picture, we realized that we were already, we as in the true crime community, we're looking at that going, what? What kind of evidence collection is that? Well, get how they collect the swabs. He asks her, which cup did you, so you took two swabs, yes. And were the cups labeled? No. Well, did you, when you received them, were they labeled? No. Did you label them? No. Well, how do you know which cups you took your samples from? I only took them from one cup. And she said, I was told that they were all from the same stain. Is what she said. That's what she was told. They were all from the same stain. So she didn't need to take samples from all of them. She only needed to take samples from one. I want to know what the results are from that. I mean, were you able to get DNA? Were you able to, I mean, it just, oh my God. Oh, I have a note here. DNA was not done on those swabs. So, like, what were they testing for if they weren't testing for DNA? Just testing that it was blood? You know, quote, I do not do damage analysis on vehicles. Because he was asking her again about like coming to a conclusion about about the vehicles. You know, I do not do damage analysis on vehicles. Oh yeah, but when she said that, it was almost like, why are you the forensic specialist, the crime lab employee that was assigned to come out here? If you don't do damage analysis on an SUV, why were you the one sent? You know, that was like a really odd moment when she said that. I think everybody just kind of went, huh? She was asked if she used the tool to remove the taillight. She said no. One of the Canton police officers used the tool to remove the housing of the taillight. She doesn't remember which one. They show a photo, and she says, they asked, before it was removed, where did you take swabs? And she said on these exterior places here and here. And then I guess she used one swab to swab all this area. And so the defense asked, you don't know which area the DNA would have come from, correct? And she said, yes, you can transfer DNA by touching an item. There were 5 pieces of glass. Oh, and there was a picture of 5 pieces of glass that were labeled A, B, C, D, and E. And she said, I did not label them. And he goes, is it possible someone else labeled them A through E? And she said, yes. She said that she numbered them with numbers. And then she submitted the swabs as one. And I was like, what? And she also said it went to fingerprinting first. And she doesn't remember how many pieces. This is the glass from the bumper. And there's like no pieces were embedded. They were just sitting on the bumper. She said, yes. Then he was trying, I have here notes that car was towed from another city, Dayton, the scene in Canton to Dayton and back. The glass traveled 60 miles in a blizzard. And as they were discussing that, she kept sidestepping that. She didn't want to answer anything directly on that whole conversation. Then there was the hair was on a vertical surface, yes. And was it pointed out to you? And she said, no, I found it. And then he asked, how was it affixed? Glue. And he goes through all this like glue, staples, blah, 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 like ridiculous things. And she says, no, I just removed it with tweezers. She said, I don't know when that hair was like, how long it had been there. But there was no resistance. So like if it had been stuck in blood and stuck to because it was on a vertical surface driving through the blizzard. But there was no resistance when she used the tweezers to take it off at all. So it was like it was just there. And then he shows her 2 photos, a slightly different angle, but it's clear that hair is not, it's not the same. It's not the same. Something has changed with that hair. Even from a different angle, you try to explain it this way or try to explain it that way, it doesn't make sense. The hair's been moved. And she says, and so he's asking her about this. And she goes, I don't think I can make that determination. Like, has it moved? And I wrote down, after this comment, I don't trust her. That's when I lost confidence in her at that moment. So then The sweatshirt. How did you choose? Remember, we saw the sweatshirt, we saw all the markers, and I made a note exactly which markers is where her 2 samples came from. Right. Well, here we get the answer. And as I mentioned, it is horrific. She goes on to explain that the 2 swabs that she took were actually, 2 swabs held together. So she didn't do like 1 swab and 1 swab. She put 2 swabs together and did 1 bit. So now where did she collect from? From one of those big gaping holes to check if there's saliva, dog saliva on the hole that potentially is a dog bite? No, if this is the arm, she just went like this across the whole arm. And there's her 2 swabs. It's like, it was like unfriggin' believable. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So she has no way, so what part of the sleeve, like if there's a positive test or even a negative. So I mean, I would think here's a hole in the sleeve. I'm taking the swab and I'm going around it like this. I'm not an expert, but I imagine that's how I would collect it. So, okay, no new comments. All right, crazy. And there was no video of her taking the swabs. The debris collection. Okay, so she took scrapings from both shirts, the gray sweatshirt and the orange t-shirt that he was wearing underneath. And she combined them as one. Now we're thinking, she put the scrapings from both the gray sweatshirt and the orange sweatshirt together in one envelope to pass on to the next person in the lab. I was like, what? Well, then she goes, did you describe the debris? No. No photos or video? Correct. Remember, you've got a shirt. I'm going to show you pictures of the shirt. And you got something, and you're scraping the shirt. You're scraping the shirt. Microscopic trace evidence. 3-inch pieces of plastic. And a straw. So then we find out. So it's like, why would you put the debris from both shirts in one envelope? Well, because the shirts came in one envelope to her. Both shirts were in one evidence bag delivered to her. So therefore, her incoming and her outgoing were parallel, consistent. And that's a big star. Both shirts were in one evidence bag. Now that I think he already knew because he had pictures of the evidence bags, which has written on there gray sweatshirt and orange shirt. It was there was a lot of talk about, like, for example, this evidence bag with the 2 shirts in it was collected by Proctor on January 29th at 2 p.m. because it says 1400. So at 2 p.m. from the hospital. All right. So all the different evidence that came in, so she collected her own evidence on the 1st of February, right? So 3 days later. Then he took this from, according to the evidence bag, Proctor was at the hospital, put these 2 shirts in the bag, sealed it, 2 p.m. that same day. right? But she doesn't receive any evidence at her lab until the 14th of March. Isn't there something you want to like get done right away? Why'd you have to wait that long before you handed it over to the lab? It's just weird. And so there was a lot of talk about that. And she said that it wasn't all given to her, like pieces of plastic and things, glass. They weren't all given to her at the same time. That things came at different points, but nothing came before March 14th. He also pointed out, did you know that this sweatshirt had been on the floor of the ambulance? And she said, no, I had no knowledge of that. And on the floor in the hospital room? No. So that also brought some doubt as far as the integrity of the evidence. Okay, that's what I just said. And then there was Ashley Valier. She was very nervous. She looks like a little pixie. And she's also with the Massachusetts State Crime Lab. And she works with the Arson and Explosives Unit. So she does gunshot residue, trace recovery, and physical matching. So I think, and they're not done with her by the end of the day. They weren't done. And I think that like putting together the pieces of the taillight or whatever, I think, the physical matching part. So we're actually following the chain of custody that we have. We don't have the early chain of custody, but once the previous lady got it and she did her scraping, put it in the envelope and passed it on to Ashley. So Ashley receives the debris from the clothing. And she said from jeans, boxers, sneakers, an orange shirt, and a gray sweatshirt. And so then we ended up kind of talking about what was on the shirts. And she said there was black, gray, and orange fibers. There was dirt. There was red and clear plastic. There was hairs. There was green material. And she passed on to another analysis for the fibers, the paint, and the glass. But she identified plastic, glass, and one drinking straw. It goes into the process that she does. Okay, and I wrote down, she looks a little scared. She did. She looked really nervous and scared, but more like could have been her first time being on the stand. And not nervous like she's lying, but nervous like she's scared to be there. You're still here. Okay, good, Andy. All right, so now I got some stuff for you. The first thing I want to share, actually, is this great post from Aussie Insider. And put the read more on, okay? Let me see what you guys can see. I don't know if I can make that bigger for you. So she's sharing on her community tab a post that was on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. And it's amusing. It says, "Mom juggling life." I guess that's the handle of the person who posts daily a summary on X. Often very amusing. This is her post today. What I learned day 19 of the Karen Read trial. So after everything I just told you, this is how she makes her summary. Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara doesn't like cluttered maps, so he doesn't log all the evidence on the map. Number 2, O'Hara named his cruiser the command post. I've now named my Highlander Central Command. I got a side eye at dinner. Number 3, in Canton, you can just invade crime scenes and claim to be part of the CERT team and no one will question it. Number 4, Yannetti, that's the defense attorney, let O'Hara know he's just asking questions. I think that sometimes the defense, they ask a question they know is wrong to see what the answer will be. If they will say no, you know, yeah, I think so. Number 5, students everywhere no longer fail tests. It's called remediation. That's because the first person that went to the SUV to collect from there, and the red Solo cups and the swabs on the sleeve, she got a wrong answer or something. She didn't fail. She didn't pass her. Like I think they have an update, like maybe an annual exam or something. I'd have to like check to see exactly, but to keep up your certification kind of thing, right? You have to maintain an exam, take an exam every year or whatever. And yeah, so like she never said like I failed it. She just said she had remediation. So if you didn't know what it was talking about, yeah, students no longer fail tests. It's called remediation. Number 6, John's sweatshirt has punctures in it. 2 punctures that could come from incisors. Looking at you, Chloe. The missing belt has been found. Apparently, I mean, I didn't realize this, but like there was talk about his pants, but no belt. Well, the belt is in the picture as being through the loops of the pants. 8, no blood under the car or on the car. It's kind of big, and that yeah, simple on that one. 9, let's play 2 truths and a lie. John lived in Canton. Karen drove a Lexus. Glass was embedded in the bumper. So I think that maybe in the opening statements, the prosecution used the term embedded in the bumper. We can see in the pictures I'm going to show you that it's clearly just on top. All right. 10, the bar glass is magical and will stay resting in place on the bumper as it travels all over Canton and 60 miles to and from Dighton and not move and stay for Maureen Hartnett to analyze. It's definitely not from someone planting it. Proctor Trooper swears. 11. Well, he didn't. She's just saying Proctor Trooper swears. He hasn't been on the stand yet. 11. Only 1 hair was found. It didn't move 60 miles to Dighton and moves in the Sallyport. Nothing weird or conspiracy-like is going on here, I swear. 12. In a strange turn of events, we learned that the person really in charge is Madam Court Reporter. That's the judge always says, Madam Court Reporter, speak louder for Madam Court Reporter. That's what she calls her. It's really cute when she says it. She controls. So there's no air conditioning in this trial room or courtroom. So they have ceiling fans. They have fans. But the fans make a little bit of noise. So if people don't speak up, they have to turn the fans off. And so Bev will keep warning the witnesses, you need to speak up or we're going to turn the fans off, and we're wondering, is that because you've got, jurors that are fanning themselves and panting or what? Well, apparently it's Madam Court Reporter that controls the temperature. Ashley Valier, that's looked at pictures. Yeah, that's all her testimony. So she didn't really say much at this point. They just showed her pictures and like, yeah, no, yeah, whatever. They just kept showing pictures of all these pieces of glass and pieces of plastic, red plastic, clear plastic, the straw. 14, Bev, the judge, threatens to take away air conditioning. The jurors are currently throwing darts with Lally's face, that's the prosecutor, as Dartboard's nose is the bullseye. Lally's nose is the bullseye. Extra points if you hit a hair spike. Yeah. So Lally just drones on and on and on and on, and people make jokes about the fact that he's asking, oh, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream or something, right? He doesn't actually ask that, but the jokes are like that because he's asking these things that I think in his mind he's laying a foundation. But oh my gosh, I just realized that my microphone was very far away. I hope you've been able to hear me all this time. Number 15, Auntie Bev, the judge, has had it with Lally and the witnesses. She's buying Madam Court Reporter a Nerf gun who will start shooting Lally with Nerf darts when he starts going dial tone. Bang, bang. All right. I thought that was kind of cute. All right. So, okay.
Abbiamo trovato un lavoro per te.
So you can see the pictures.
Oh, grazie.
This isn't something that has just seeped along.
Okay, so I don't.
We'll look at his clothes. You ready?
I want to give credit and put. If you want to watch this whole thing, which I recommend, it's about 30 minutes. There was 5-6 hours of testimony, and in 30 minutes you can kind of get all of this stuff. So this is the first one, the first lady I was talking about that went to the SUV and collected evidence at the Canton Police Department in their Sally Port. All right. Here is the hoodie. Oh, there we go. So here's the hoodie. This is the front. Now they show the front, they show the back, then they show the inside front and the inside back. One thing I find interesting here is like all these blood stains almost look like they're vertical. I mean, we know that there were no injuries here. So that means that his head injury, or maybe a bloody nose, was dripping blood along the front of his shirt. Right. And just in case you don't realize, this opening is from the paramedics cutting his shirt so that they could work on him and try to resuscitate him, right? So that rip is from them cutting his shirt. Otherwise, and she in this video actually she mentions that she thinks it was unzippered. I don't think there's a zipper anywhere. I think this was a closed shirt. It's just a one-piece shirt that they then cut up the middle. Yeah, so you can see there's a lot of blood up here on his left side. So just for the sake of argument, for visualization, if I'm facing him and I use my right hand and hit him, it would be on his left side, which is where you can see there's more blood here on this left side and down the middle. Okay, that's the gray sweatshirt. There's a lot at the bottom. This has to be the back because you don't see any pockets, right? And so that could be from his head injury then, because there were not, remember, there's no injuries on his body in this location. From the neck down, there are no injuries, no external injuries. And we haven't heard from the medical examiner if there were any internal injuries. The emergency room doctor said they did not run any CAT scans or x-rays because their only job was to resuscitate him. And when they couldn't, that was it. They didn't need to do, they're not medical examiners, right? This is the back of the sweatshirt. Now this is spread open, so you're actually seeing the inside of the. Oh wait, no, this is the inside. This is the. It's been turned inside out. But anyway, you can see to the other side the blood stains through there. thumb here, which back, but inside out. I don't know. So here's like all these evidence markers, right, of where there's damage or stains. Here, she actually goes into, I think in this video, the fact that clothing, like if you have a puncture and then a tear, such as a tooth and then down, you have an entry point and like an exit point kind of thing, and you can tell the difference, and that this, she has close-ups where she has it. But anyway, looks like the picture that they used when they asked her about the swabbing, and she said she put 2 swabs together and then just zigzagged across the arm like that. That's what she said. Yep. Okay. So here's an example where she was talking about that if this was the entry, then this is the direction that it's being torn after the entry. And then she shared another one here where there's the puncture, and
this was pulled this way. This,
yeah,
I can't tell. These punctures are not from the undercarriage of a car. And this pattern here is.
Yeah, okay. So there's quite a bit of blood on the outside of his shirt, but there's like folds as well. I'll let you make your own judgment. Here there's also like a tear, which I was wondering if the dog is biting you on your, if you're like this and the dog's mouth is here, are its feet scrambling on you? And the nails, could I don't know that I don't know. But she brings that up. There's some more evidence markers on the shirt in general. There's some stains that she identified. I don't know if she actually did a swab on each of those stains or not. That wasn't clear. They were pretty much more talking about the sleeve. Some stains. So here's the orange shirt. Again, it's on more, the blood tends to be more on the left side of the shirt. Again, here on the left side. And then there were like these drops too. I think those are drops, not holes. It's just weird. There's the shirt again. And here's the jeans. So this is the groin area of the jeans. Again, they had been cut by emergency personnel. But some stains on the right side. That's the sleeve. There's a fuller picture of the pants. The belt is up here. There's another picture that you can see the belt clearly. Not a lot of blood on the pants. A little bit here, some kind of staining here, some staining here, some staining here. Here's the bumper. Okay. Right here is the piece of glass. How do I know that's on the top of the ridge and not in the groove? There you go, ridge and groove. I don't know why I couldn't think of that before. I had to use the word gutter. Look here. This is one sticker. It's attached on the light gray. It's stuck down. Then you can see there's a gap in the dark gray and it's stuck again on the light gray. So the light gray is the ridge. The dark gray is the groove. Okay, can you see that with that sticker? All right. Look at this piece of glass. It's on the ridge. It's on the ridge. I mean, I could maybe believe it if it was down in the groove, but it's on the ridge. All right. Here's the hair. Now, this is the hair. If you didn't see it, this is the hair. She actually does a good job. I think she marks exactly the things that I had been thinking of myself. So it's like a letter C. And if you notice right here is the like all of these are the salt, like I said, like hard water stains, right? They're droplet stains, probably from the road being salted. And here's one. And you can see clearly that this hair is on top of the stain. Now the question is going to be, are this end and this end, is it like the St. Louis arch being connected on the ends? Or is it laying flat all the way across? Or is it like in a U, it's just maybe stuck right here and it's like a U shape? So, and then we got to close again. Oh, there's an example of the evidence bag. It says the orange t-shirt and, one orange t-shirt, one gray sweatshirt by Proctor at 1400 on the 29th at Good Samaritan Hospital. Oh, did I miss the first hair?
Didn't give any resistance. So he showed pictures of
There.
it.
Okay. And so here's the other one. So here's the end of it. It comes up.
Hair again.
Oops.
And see,
It comes up, it comes down, and then there's the root. Again, here's that droplet. Here's the droplet. It's above the droplet. Now, the camera angle is going to move over this way a little bit. Here's the sticker. So if it's standing end on end like the St. Louis arch, and then you move the camera angle over, the C would be backwards. It would be a backwards letter C, not a forward letter C from the angle.
see here, it looks kind of like a backward C. But then in the next,
So there's no way, I mean, if you look at where this root is and where this root, this is the root and this end. The other ones were over here. It was here to here. Let me go back a little. Look, here's the water droplet. Here's the water droplet. There's an end below it and an end on to the left. An end to the left of the water droplet, the U-shaped water droplet, and directly beneath it.
it looks kind of like a backward C. But then
Now those ends are both on the right side of this droplet. There's the U-shaped droplet. It was to the left and below. Now they're both to the right. Tell me that didn't move. That completely moved. And she kept trying to sidestep. She was not going to admit that it had moved. I better answer this one. It's about my tutoring that I have to do this afternoon. All right. Okay, so now you see the issue with the hair. much easier than you see her. This is the pixie girl I was talking about. She's cute, but she looked very nervous most of the time that she was talking. Oh, here's the straw. Oops, so 6 inches, right? There's number 6. There's number 1. So it's 5.5 inches. Yeah, it's one of those little cocktails. Like you get a short whiskey glass, and it's got one of the short straws, short skinny straws. It's one of those. This was scraped as debris off the shirt, off the 2 shirt. Which shirt? Was it in the sweatshirt? Was it stuck in the hood of the sweatshirt? Was it in the orange shirt? Hey, it's all put together in one envelope. You know, again, there's a lot of things about the black. Okay, here, pieces of plastic. Again, this is a 6-inch ruler. 6-inch ruler. So what is that, 5 inches? Okay, I could see this little one. That's a 1/2 inch. Why didn't we see these in the picture of the clothes? Did these not come from the scraping of the debris? Because that's what it sounded like. I mean, because then they were also saying that there was all these different pieces of evidence at different times that were given to her. I'm kind of thinking that these pieces had to have been those additional envelopes of evidence being brought to her. I can't imagine this being scraped off a shirt, yet that was the context that the testimony was talking about. So here's clear plastic. I think that's plastic. You've got some, look how big this piece is. Are some of those supposed to be from the state troopers? Okay, so that's it for the pictures. You're doing a deep dive on Cy-Ray on Friday. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, Robert. That sounds really good. And for anyone who doesn't know, Cy-Ray is the in the Idaho 4 case. He's the specialist, the expert that the defense is bringing to talk about phone data, phone pings, phone data, whatever. You'll see if you can make it. Excellent, Andy. I should try to make it too. If it's Friday night, your Friday night, it'll be my Saturday morning. Should be okay. So then I wanted to play one more thing for you guys, and we can end with this. It's 14 minutes long. And so what this is this is by Aussie Insider. So let me actually grab their YouTube channel, put it here for you. Okay, there's Aussie Insider. She is this master of compilations of this Karen Read case. And this one is of all the reactions. So everybody else that does like live shows, like they're watching the trial live, you can choose Emily D. Baker, the lawyer, the DUI guy, all these different shows. She compiles their little clips of their reactions to like these boom moments, right? So let's take a look. And you can also get a feel for like, oh, I think I'd like to watch that person covering the live.
Red Solo Cup, I fill you up.
How did you take those swabs? Was the swab done in one solo cup, or did you take a swab from all 6? Or how did you take those? How did you choose which of the 6 solo cups you were going to take a swab from?
Wait,
I don't recall.
you didn't swab all of them? Wait. Did you? I was singing
She was singing
and missed something that actually was helpful. Did you just say you only swabbed one? Not each one.
Yes.
Ma'am, what?
Yes. This is Emily D. Baker.
I took those swabs from one solo cup.
How did you choose which of the 6 solo cups
Just
you wanted
one?
to take a swab from? Take those swabs that you ultimately did take.
I took those swabs from one solo cup.
Just these questions makes most rational, normal people be like,
That's the lawyer, you know.
the blood from solo cup, and that's what we're using here. It's like,
The other one was DUI guy just before. Baker attacked by his tape measure.
Well, there's a big difference. Again, if you take a foot,
Or 3 feet,
3 feet, or as he now claims,
6 feet. I'm gonna try and do 6 feet. So he's talking about O'Hara and like how far apart was the
I can't keep
speaker
it.
from the
I
red
have two short
plastic,
arms.
from the clear plastic.
Ow.
Ow. I don't know that guy. On laws of gravity, I don't really either.
Yeah, I'm interested in where the blood is on his shirt. Is it dribbled down the front like when you get cracked in the face? You take a solid shot to the nose, it starts bleeding all over you, drips all over your bib area. Is that what we're going to see?
That is exactly what you're going to see.
Because that's going to be a little bit different than you get cracked in the head and you get thrown back on your back.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish some of these photographs for the jury as well.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have, excuse me, photograph 9789. Ms. Hartnett, putting up on the screen now what's been marked as exhibit 190. Do you recognize
That's it. Bloody
Yes, I
nose.
do.
What do you
That's it.
recognize that to be?
I'm done.
That's it.
That
I'm
is
done.
the photograph I took of
Done.
item 7-18. It is the exterior front.
And Ms. Gilman, if I
Nope.
could have 9790, the next photograph.
The precarious
Before
hair.
we get to reactions, I just want to have a closer look at this hair. The hair apparent. So let's assume that
The
it's
hair
curly
apparent.
hair and it's
Instead of
patched on each
air
end,
apparent,
touching
the
cup.
hair apparent.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Mhm.
mark out these water spots. So I presume there's salt residue or something like
I
that.
think this is actually
So
Aussie
we'll mark
Insider.
the top one first,
Here's where the dots are.
and then we'll
exactly
mark the bottom one.
What I had
So that when we
seen.
switch pictures,
I called them
can
snow
locate
stains
where
in my
those
note.
salt marks are. Now, for the sake of orientation, we'll call the end of the hair that is sitting inside the red circle, we'll call that the root of the hair. And you'll
Yep.
note, when we switch pictures, the root of the hair is nowhere near that circle anymore.
Yep.
Here's the green drip at the top, and here's the
baby.
red drip where
Oh,
the root
baby.
of the hair should be,
Yeah.
but it's not.
So if
Let's
you
start
didn't
over.
catch that
Let's
from the
assume
way
this
I was
time that the
explaining it
curved
earlier,
part
there
of
you
the
go.
hair
You can
is what's
see it.
touching the car, and the ends are
So I'm going to
sticking
move
out
past
from the
this
car.
to more
Again, we
reaction.
see the green salt spot.
Ms. Hartnett, does it look to you like between the first and the second photographs, that hair has moved?
Has moved.
nope.
There is no way.
They fucking nope. I can't say that. They changed it.
What? Yeah, they changed the. Oh
It's
my
the other way
gosh.
around.
So that's 1, 2,
This-
3.
It was
people,
backward and then straight. What the
and
hell
she's
is?
counting how many
Baker, we're gonna.
agree that it
We
moved.
need a day drink. This
That
is
again.
ridiculous.
Go back. Wait.
Ms. Hartnett, does it look to you like between the first and the second photographs, that hair has
face.
moved?
Looks to me like it was.
It's no longer an inverted C, but a C.
Huh.
Ms. Hartnett, does it look to you like
Either way.
between the first and the second photographs, that hair has moved?
See, down there it looks different.
Yes, that's correct.
Ms. Hartnett, does it look to you like between the first and the second
Yes,
photographs,
it moved.
that hair has moved?
Yes.
This
Looks
is Bob
completely
Motta
different.
down here.
Absolutely.
It's no longer an inverted C, but a C.
Just say yes, lady. I mean, come on.
It's no
Oh.
longer an
my God.
inverted C, but a C.
Oh my God.
He caught it
He's
right away.
right.
Does it look to you like between the first and the second photographs, that hair has moved? It's no longer an inverted Z, but a C.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
That hair has moved.
What?
It's no longer an inverted Z, but a C.
No, it looks like a different angle.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
That doesn't look, it looks like a different angle of the same thing to me. It doesn't look like the ends of the hair are touching and then they flip. It looks, no, it looks the same to me. It looks like, if anything, maybe it's curling up a little bit more, but it doesn't really. Yeah, they just look like a different angle of the same thing to me.
So of our 11 potential jurors, we had 9 that agreed it looked like it moved and 2 that either didn't react or did not agree. And that's fairly representative of what's probably going to happen
So she's
in
saying
the
that the
deliberation.
jury is probably having the same kind of reaction.
A lot of shit came in today. I mean, like, aside from the last witness, which was pretty dry, but as Judge Bev kind of ended it there, like I talk about it all the time. It's a necessary evil in trials. You got to get this shit in. She's got to lay the foundation. She's got to authenticate shit. That's the process. So, once they get it all into evidence, they'll start talking about it.
Okay, so for me, it was an interesting foundational day. Was it riveting with these aha moments? No. But I think it does kind of continue to speak to the weakness of the Commonwealth's case to me, that they're spending this many weeks setting this type of a background with this evidence as opposed to connecting these dots. I would have, because you can, if you have this stuff and you have a good faith basis, you can lay some foundation, you can connect the big dots and then continue to lay the foundation after, which solidifies and reinforces the main points that you're putting together.
On some of the evidence collection, we are getting the front of the evidence bag, and you can see that some of these pieces were collected February 8th, February 9th, February 10th by both Trooper B. Buchanan and Trooper Proctor. But we have these evidence being collected day after day after day after day, which is wild to see.
Is he now going to put in the actual pieces of plastic? Are we going to get the actual pieces of plastic put into evidence after she, I mean.
Alrighty. So there you go. Want to remove that or remove the wrong thing? Yeah, are you trying to do red Solo cups? So that's the update. It was wild. Quite a few things did come out, and it just crazy. This every day of this trial, I gotta tell you, you sit through a lot of boring stuff, especially when Lolly, the prosecutor, is talking. It's like, come on, move on, get on with it, whatever. But you sit through that, and then you get the jewels, or you can watch the summaries, by Aussie Insider and others. A lot of the people that do the live, watch it during live, will also do a shorter summary of the things that happened during the day as well. So you don't have to sit and watch 5-6 hours like I usually do until 3 o'clock in the morning. For me, starts at 8 p.m., which is 9 a.m. Eastern in Boston or Massachusetts, the Boston area. It's so 9 a.m. for them when they're starting the trial is 8 p.m. for me. And yeah, so, but I watch a lot on replay sometimes too, because I've got my lives at 9 p.m. sometime, on certain days of the week. And then I just watch on 1.5 speed to catch it up, But usually when I end mine, my live stream, the trial's still going on, and then I'm until like 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I give up around 1 and figure, okay, I've watched through this, especially if there's like the change of witnesses or something, and then I know, okay, I need to start watching when this witness takes the stand. If they just keep going with the same witness, it's kind of hard to find a place to stop. Yeah, unless they take a break or a break for lunch or whatever, then it's a little easier. So break for lunch is usually, you know, shortly after midnight for me. But alrighty. So True Crime Cult on Friday is doing a deep dive on Cy Ray, the technical expert with phone data and phone locations. So that's going to be good. And tonight for you guys in America is my Gen X show. And so I don't even know. I think, oh no, wait. I've been saving a couple of videos that we can like watch. Some of them are shorts and things that can start our conversations. And then we can like Google search stuff from there or whatever. So don't miss Gen X tonight. It is during the trial, during the Karen Reed trial. So you have to give up an hour or so of it. But I hope you do, and watch the other on replay and watch me live. Woohoo! All righty. So I'll see you then. And don't forget that love transcends time and space. So whenever and wherever you're watching this, I love you. Okay. See you next time.